Blog Talk Radio.
In the Christian tradition, based on Acts 1:13, the upper room was said to be the site of the Last Supper, i.e., the cenacle. But it was not the upper room found in Mark 14:15, and Luke 22:12 is the site of the Last Supper. However, the upper room in Zion, Acts 1:13, located on Mount Zion, in the city of David, was the usual place where the apostles of Adonai Baruch stayed in Jerusalem. And according to the Rastafari Encyclopedia, based upon Acts 2:42, as it is written, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship and breaking of bread and in prayers. It was thus the first church of the Nazarene, our black master and savior, Jesus Christ, and said by many to be the first Christian church.
Glory to the Most High Jah, Rastafari, King of Kings, Lords of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, light of the world, is His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Protect my son David as he traveled this lonely path. Steer my son far from bloody men who surround him with opinions sharp as daggers. Bless him with a vision to distinguish friends from foes. Bless his listeners with overstanding and patience. Remind the critics that all judgment belongs to thee. May the words of thy mouth and the meditation of thy heart be acceptable in thy presence, Selah. Love them.
From the upper room is beyond what they beyond, distinguishing the light seekers from the peons. Ron Sayadon is lay upon us knowledge that is eons old. Has it been told since the days of old? And I sit watching the story unfold. Yeshua gave us the code, gave us the name, kept the Maui Haile Selassie. The first will reign, the opener the book of the seven seals. It's time for the gathering. It's the latter and no, not the Vatican. Christ in his kingly character, we on that again. I'ma keep speaking the scriptures until I'm out of wind. Built on the true foundation, there's no shaking. There's no need of you hating. Stop hesitating. How many of you have been waiting? In the upper room, we meeting in the upper room of Zion. From the upper room is beyond what they beyond, distinguishing the light seekers from the peons. Ron Sayadon is lay upon us knowledge that is eons old. Has it been told since the days of old? And I sit watching the story unfold. Yeshua gave us the code, gave us the name, kept the Maui Haile Selassie. The first will reign, the opener the book of the seven seals. It's time for the gathering. It's the latter and no, not the Vatican. Christ in his kingly character, we on that again. I'ma keep speaking the scriptures until I'm out of wind. Built on the true foundation, there's no shaking. There's no need of you hating. Stop hesitating. How many of you have been waiting? In the upper room, we meeting in the upper room of Zion.
In Mount Zion, yeah, with King Alpha and Queen of Father and Mother of creation.
Bukayam Hamishi. It is the 5th day of the week, and we do have a Tehillim that is recited in the 5th day of the week, found in chapter 81, and again it will be recited also in Hebrew. Let's begin. Ramnazecha al Hagetit La'asaf Hanimu Lelohim Uze Havu Lelohe Yaakov Su Zenwa Utneto Kimo Naim Elnavel Tiku Zahore Shofa Bakese Leyo Chage Ki Ho La Yisrael Hu Mishpot Lelohe Yaakov Edut Bihose Sam Bezit Alwet Mizraim Sofat Lo Yadati Eshma Hasiroti Misaver Shiku Kape Midu Taavona Badara Kawata Va'achaze Im Vaseko Va'am Echan Alme Emhiva Sela Shema Ame Ve'eda Ba Yisrael Im Tishmale Lo Yive Vu El Za Vilo Tishkachave Leel Necha Anoke Yahava Elohe Hamaal Me'eret Mizraim HaChesed Va'amale Velo Shama Ame Lakole V'Yisrael Lo Avale Va'ashache Bishveri Leba Yaku Bimoazote Lu Ame Shomea Li Yisrael Birwake Yahaleko Kimat Oeve Apnea Vai Zoe Ashiv Yadi Mazane Yahava Yaka Hashilo Vehe Eta Lolam Vaya Akile Nehalev Cheta Umize Devash Asbeer
Psalm 81. Sing aloud unto God our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Take a psalm, and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. Psalm 81. Sing aloud unto God our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Take a psalm, and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel, and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. Thou calledst in trouble, and I delivered thee. I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. I proved thee at the waters of Meribah. Selah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto thee. O Israel, if thou wilt hearken unto me. There shall no strange God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange God. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. My people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of them. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies, and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him. Their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied, I have satisfied, I have satisfied, I have satisfied, I have satisfied.
To save Africa.
In Ethiopia, at its capital, Addis Ababa, Emperor Haile Selassie, who sent 4 members of his Air Force to join Harambee Africa, speaks of the responsibilities of youth.
ጀማሪ በኋላም ተቀባይ ግብረ ገብነት አርቆ አስተዋይነት መስዋዕትነት ላይ የተመሰረተ ነው።
The future prospect of a country depends upon its young people. The integrity and the well-being of the whole of Africa can be preserved only when its youth, with unceasing effort, has developed an acute sense of discrimination, thus adopting what is only essential and constructive, and discarding that which does not contribute to the goal and aspiration of the peoples of Africa.
በአፍሪካ ወጣቶች እስካሁን ድረስ ያተረፉትን እውቀት ሁሉ አፍሪካን ታላቅነትና አንድነት ያሰቡ
The youth of Africa must show to the world that they are determined to use the best of their knowledge to bring about continuous progress and the common goal of unity and greatness as a tangible objective of the African peoples.
Everybody just a run complicated, but Israel don't have it already. Man, a time you get ready, cause everybody don't know Jaja already. Africa, we're coming to take it. Boy, 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 boy. Africa, here I come. Ethiopia land is best of all. Repatriate and make we take it all. Enough land for you and I, man. Work hard and make we do it in a yard. Africa, we're coming to take it. Here I come. Oh, oh, oh. Africa, here I come. These are people coming. When we go there, we now run. Jaja knows that we are fixed. When we go there, we now run with it. Jaja knows that we are fixed. Africa have some real nice people. When you reach there, I know you will see it. Enough land for you and I, man. Work hard and make we do it in a yard. Africa, we now run left it. Here I come. Boy, 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 boy. Africa, how we gonna take it? Take a track up to North Africa. Then we move down to South Africa. Make a move over West Africa. And then we end up in Ethiopia, man. Africa, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Here I come. We're coming to take it. Africa, hold on strong. Here I come. See the Israelites them coming. When we go there, we now run with it. Jaja knows that we are fixed. Never run when we go there, we now run with it. Jaja knows that we are fixed. Africa, here I come. Here I come. I'm coming to get you. Africa, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Don't know Jaja already. Africa, coming to take it. Here I come. Boy, 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 boy. Africa, here I come.
Yes. Here on the podcast, going to touch on today's daily psalm. It's Psalm 141. Here we're in the fifth book, Devarim, the words. Going to pick up with we're at day 5. We're going to review day 4 and day 5 audio right here. I'd like to get more into Psalm 141, 44th Torah reading and feeding. I'd like to share this right here. Love this tune. Haven't played it so recently, but it's the Akon tune, so Mama Africa, as well as Chico Cesar right here. I'd like to share this before we get more into full of tonight's podcast, the Upper Room of Zion, right here. So much, so tell me, can you feel it? So much, to make that busy. So much, let it go, can you feel it? So much love to share. Pure blackness, oneness, so rare. So much love to give. Let them know they're missing out. Mama Africa has so much love to share. Sweet blackness, oneness, be there. So much love to give. Let them know they're missing out. Sing again. It's for all the love and the life took away. Don't forget we were bought and traded, ripped from the land and shipped away. Is the inspiration we use to survive. You have to see it with your own cries. Don't play, add it up and alright. You don't know the land is so gold and green, place is so fresh and clean, and every day I water my garden. Tell it to feel it deep in your heart. The space is so cool and nice. Visit once, guaranteed to visit twice. And if you just believe in the Most High, I know you'll be alright. Mama Africa has pure blackness, oneness, so rare. So much love to give. And let them know they're missing out. Mama Africa, you much love to share. Sweet blackness, oneness, be there. So much love to give. And let them know they're missing out. Sing again. That's my favorite place when I need to get away. Must forgive, but we can't forget to pray. Our flight lands right on the runway. In my homeland and I'm feeling so alive. Hear me chant, Africa unite. Gone and accept the nice, alright. Still you don't know, the skin is so dark and brown. She lifts me right off the ground. But no, you're not gonna see it on your TV. So you're just listen up and believe me. Her dreams have the only cure. them know they missing out. Feeling it all the time. Sweet blackness, oneness, be there. Let them know they missing out. Sing again.
Pode dizer, eu sou o pai de Chico César. E Chico César, a minha esposa, é essa senhora aqui. E é a mãe de Chico César.
Eita, Chico César toda a vida foi um bom menino, estudioso, nunca me deu trabalho.
Essa é a nossa família, a família de Chico César.
Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África tem tanto que fazer. Além de cuidar do neném, além de fazer denguinho, filhinho tem que entender. Mama África vai e vem, mas não se afasta de você. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Quando mama sai de casa, seu filho, seu lodunzão rola o maior jeito. Mama tem calo nos pés, mama precisa de paz. Mama não quer brincar mais. Filhinho dá um tempo, é tanto contratempo, o ritmo de vida de mama. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Ser legal, ser legal, ser legal, deve ser legal. Ser legal, ser legal, deve ser legal. Ser legal, ser legal, deve ser legal. Ser legal, ser legal. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África, a minha mãe é mãe solteira e tem que fazer mamadeira todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África, a minha mama África, a minha mama África, a minha mama África.
All right, the Torah portion here. Yes, side for Mama Africa.
Shem Ha'av Wa'Habein Ruach Kadosh. Glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Glory.
Your Imperial Majesty, as a mature Christian, have you a special word for young people of these days?
በዚህ ቀን የኛ ግዛት ውስጥ
On this occasion, I address also all those within our empire. Our Christianity is not restricted to a given church, and I stress above all that we do not wish to make distinctions. My advice to all is to fulfill the 10 Commandments. My advice to all is to fulfill the 10 Commandments.
Shem Ha'av W'Habein Ruach Kadosh. Glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Glory be. Glory be. We're going to ride up here. Sabbatical study, this I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong. Here, Shema Yisrael. Here. Give ear right here for the Rebi'i, Aliyah. The fourth reading and offering up Aliyah for this Shabbat Devarim. Sabbath words, the words. These are the words. With Tapekem Asher Maritem Lavaza Yihye Ua Benekem Asher Loa Yadua Hayom Toba Wa Ra'a Heima Yabo Ua Shamma Willahema Etanenah with Hema Yirashuha. Here for the Rebi'i, the fourth offering up Aliyah reading for this Shabbat Devarim. Here picking up with Deuteronomy chapter 1, here at verse 39 for the Rebi'i Aliyah. Moreover, your little ones, which y'all said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good or evil, they shall go in thither, and to them will I give her, and they shall possess it, they shall possess her. But as for you, turn you and take your journey into the Midbar, into the wilderness by the way of the Yam Suf, by the way of the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds, the Eterabahir, the Eritrean Sea. Then ye y'all answered and said to I and I have sinned, have up against the Yahweh Jehovah. We will go up and fight according to all that Yahweh Eloheinu, that Jehovah, I and I Elohim, commanded us. And when ye y'all had girded on every man his weapons of war, ye y'all were ready to go up into the hill. And Yahweh Jehovah said to I, say to them, go not up, Aliyah not up, go not up, neither fight. For I am not among you, lest ye y'all be smitten before your enemies. So I spake to you, and ye y'all would not hear, but rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh of Jehovah, and went presumptuously up into the hill. And the Amorites, which dwelt in that mountain, came out against you and chased you as bees do, and destroyed you in Seir, even to Hormah. And ye y'all returned and wept lifnei Yahweh before Jehovah. But Jehovah would not hearken to your voice, your voka, nor give ear to you. So y'all abode in Kadesh many days, according to the days that ye y'all abode. They are. Shema Yisrael, Rastafari Hoy, Shema, hear. Fifth book of Moshe, Hebrew book called Deuteronomy, chapter 2. The wanderings and conflicts of the wilderness, of the Midbar. Then I and I turned and took our I and I journey into the wilderness by the way of the Yam Suf, the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds, Eterabahir, the Eritrean Sea, as Jehovah spake to I, and I and I compassed Mount Seir many day. And Shema, here, give ear right here for the Hamishi Aliyah, the fifth reading, the fifth Aliyah offering up, Anaphora up offering, here for this Shabbat Devarim, Sabbath words, the words. Here picking up the fifth book of Moses, Hebrew book called Deuteronomy chapter 2, at verse 2 for the Hamishi Aliyah. Wayo Maria wa Elaya Lemora. And Jehovah spake to me, spake to I, Lemor, saying, Rava lakem sova eta hahar hazeh, benua lakem zafonna. Ye y'all have compassed this mountain long enough. Rava lakem sova eta hahar hazeh. Turn you northward, Penu lakem zafona, and command thou the people, Lemor, saying, ye all are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir and Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take y'all good heed to yourselves, therefore. Meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau for a possession. Y'all shall buy food of them for money, that y'all may eat, and y'all shall also buy water of them for money, that y'all may drink. For Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand. He knoweth thy walking through, thy trotting through this great wilderness. These 40 years, Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. And when we pass by from our brethren, the children of Esau, the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, through the way of the plain from Elat and from Ezion Gaber, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And Yahweh Jehovah said to I, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar to the children of Lot for a possession. The Emims dwelt therein in times past, a great people, and many and tall as the Anakim, which also were accounted giants, Nephilim, as the Anakims. But the Moabites call them Amims. And the Horims also dwelt in Seir before time. But the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Yisrael did to the land of his possession, which Yahweh Jehovah gave to them. Now, rise up, said I, and get you over the brook Zered. And I and I went over the brook Zered. And the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war, the warriors, the men of war, were wasted out from among the hosts, as Jehovah swear to them. For indeed, the hand of Yahweh of Jehovah was against them, to destroy them from among the hosts, until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war, the warriors, the men of war, were consumed and dead from among Ha'am, the people, that Yahweh spake to me, spake to I, Lemor, saying, thou, the I, are to pass over through Ar, the coast of Moab, this day. And when thou comest nigh near over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them. For I will not give thee of the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it to the children of Lot for a possession. That also was accounted a land of giants, Nephilim. Giants, Nephilim dwelt therein in old time. And the Ammonites call them Zamzumims, a people great and many, and tall as Anakims. But Yahweh Jehovah destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. As he did to the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, when he destroyed the Horims from before them, and they succeeded them, and dwelt in their stead, even to this day. And the Avims, which dwelt in Hazarim, even to Azah, the Kafturims, which came forth of Kaftor, destroyed them, and dwelt in their stead. Rise your up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given into thine hand Sihon, Himori, the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and contend with him in battle, in Baca. This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations, the Goyim, the international community that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee, and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. And I sent messengers out of the wilderness of Edomot to Sihon, king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, let me make I pass through thy land. I will go along by the highway. I will neither turn to the right hand nor to the left. Thou shalt sell me meal, food for money, that I may eat, and give me water for money, that I may drink. Only I will pass through on my feet. As the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and the Moabites, which dwell in Ar, did to me, did to I, until I shall pass over Jordan, into the land which Yahweh Eloheinu, which Jehovah Ayinai Elohim give Ayinai. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let Ayinai pass by him. For Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah, the I Elohim, hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into thy hand, as pertaineth this day. Sabbatical study, this Ayinai Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong.
Yes. So that was the 4th and 5th, and to heal up, Rastawadi. Just got word the I was in the chat right there. Like to link up. It's Rasai Adonis. Got to give thanks to one of the brothers that first spearheaded this particular platform on the blog talk. Yes, I, Rastawadi. Like to link with the I, Rastafari Jews. Anyone can use that, Rastafari Jews at gmail.com. But yes, right here, the day, the right day. Here,
check it out. A bit more volume from my earphone in my mic. Yeah. A bit more volume from my microphone, yeah. Yeah. Here it comes, rude boy. Check it out. Dance and do no tie. I'm a charge. Today is the right day. You're right. Lead the people in the right way. Alright. Today is the right day. You're right. Lead the people in the right way. Boom, out my life. me have to give thanks for that. All the fuss and the fight, me no response for that. You see the daddies and the mommies used to suffer from the block. Now the big man jam is pick them up and them put them on the top. The enemy try to think they're all that, but they're not them flap. Me great and they're that. Me fly up on the business and I'm free up on the lack. I let them know, see the Columbia proud and them black. King Sadat is the Almighty. I'm a last time said that boy. Yo, fire heart, today is the right day. You're right, lead the people in the right way. Alright, today is the right day. You're right, lead the people in the yo. Wake up, incline. Okay, me all this lovely sun don't shine. All the riches in the world, it's mine. But off the road, they don't. Hebrew boy, everything takes time. Take on, good your sound. I know that you got to shut the road. I know we'll slam that some say dirty words, but who bless no man cast. Today is the right day. You're right, lead the people in the right way. Alright, today is the right day. You're right, lead the people in the right way. Ha! Wow, 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 wow. So, Mr. Music, keep on playing the vibes. We don't kill the vibes, the suffering, they get about to steal the vibes. That is how we keep the faith and authorize. We never switch, we never slip. What's the right? The right there. You're right, lead the people in the right way. Alright, today is the right day. Hey girls, your eyes are bright, yeah. Me like me have to give thanks for that. Me burn out the fuss and fight, me no response for that. Children that the son mommies used to suffer from the flat. No the big man jammies, leave them up, put them on the top. The enemies race and them hype, but now them flop. Think they're all of that, no they're not. Me go wait on them and that. They just can't stop. I'm Rastafari, I take the keep the umbrellas. Me go fly up all the prison, tell them free up all of that. I make them know some black people with broad and we're black. So that's them realize I'm not some said that. I will find food for the youth of anywhere that. Today is the right day. Lead the people in the right way. Yeah. Today is the right day. You're right. Lead the people in the right way. Hey, today is the right day. Shine your light, yeah. See that I'm
Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. Sing unto God, ye kingdoms of the earth. Oh, sing praises unto the Lord. Selah.
Hey, a classic tune right here before we get into some more build on today's daily Psalm 141. Classic Godfrey Lewis, Promised Land. Promised land is a state of mind in the higher, jet side.
In the eyes of the wicked man.
So here today's daily Psalm 141, verse here, and begin to
Shalom again, Shalom Chavarим. Here we have today's daily Psalm. We have Psalm 9 according to
Psalm 141.
מזמור קמ"א מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד מזמור לדוד
Lord,
אדוני 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 אדוני
I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me.
אדוני קראתיך חושה לי חושה לי חושה לי חושה לי חושה לי חושה לי.
Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Cry unto thee.
האזינה קולי בקוראי לך בקוראי לך בקוראי לך בקוראי לך בקוראי לך בקוראי לך בקוראי לך.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, as incense, as incense, as incense.
תיקון תפילתי כתורת לפניך 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 לפניך.
And the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice.
משאת כפיים מנחת ערן חת 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 ערן.
Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with men that work iniquity, and let me not eat of their dainties. Let the righteous smite me. It shall be a kindness. And let him reprove me. It shall be an excellent oil, which shall not break my head. For yet my prayer also shall be in their calamities. When their judges are overthrown in stony places, they shall hear my words, for they are sweet. Our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. But mine eyes are unto thee, O God the Lord. In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares which they have laid for me, and the gins of the workers of iniquity. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, whilst that I withal escape. Escape, 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 escape.
And here. Psalm 141 has a lot to do with the incense offering, even the incense offering in the tabernacle. And I'd like to have a reasoning on it to share audible right here on the Rastafari, the sacrament, the cannabis, the altar of incense, the connection of the incense with the prayers, the connection of incense with the prayers, as well as what is known as the evening, like here, the evening podcast, the evening sacrifice, as it connects with today's daily Psalm 141. And it's based on these opening verses right here. Give ear and hear.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. 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 Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. For 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 thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. As incense. Before thee as incense. As incense. As incense, as incense, as incense, as incense, as incense, and the lifting. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. 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 Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. For 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 thee as incense. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. As incense. Before thee as incense. As incense.
Perfect. Blessed. Messiah.
Are we speaking of in Revelation chapter 11, where it says rise, and the connection to season, the idea of rise, O God, right, and judge the earth. He shall inherit all nations, all the Gentiles, all the Goyim, right, rise, that resurrection, that idea of resurrection, 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 resurrection. I'm just getting a name is because just looking at some of what we just reasoned on in the previous, I just decided to call it right now Rastafari, Gemar Khatima Tov, like, Rastafari, may you be sealed for good sealing, which is that greeting, because even for the season, just how it all connects and reflects. So we just call it Gemar Khatima Tova, Rastafari, may you be sealed in the book of life, right, in the book of life. But the secondary title, Jah Worshippers and Selassie's Chapel. We could have spoken on the salt, and that meaning of the salt, but you have to see how that also connects. Not just looking at it, you could see it more or less somewhat apart, right? In order, we talk about the Yodin and Yadin, and then in the savor, but then in connection, for example, with what the Master, what Yeshua has said. Then we spoke about the incense again, right? The Aishans, so that when we're looking at which altar are we speaking of in Revelation chapter 11, where it says rise, and the connection to season, the idea of rise, O God, right, and judge the earth. He shall inherit all nations, all the Gentiles, all the Goyim, right, rise, that resurrection, that idea of resurrection. So the resurrection, first one has to rise and shine, and give Jah the glory, rise and shine, and give Jah the glory, rise and shine, and give Jah the glory, soldier of Jah, Lord, of Jah Adonai, of Jah's Adonai, of his Jah Lord, or of the Lord, if you want to go to the previous revelation sense, right? But the present revelation sense for us in this present time is interesting, because here, if you don't understand the temple and the tabernacle, it's like there's a song, a Rastafari song. In fact, I said I was going to transfer that. I think I have another song from that Nyabingi, the Ras Ivai, the one about things. It's the centenary. It was the one that was done for the centenary of His Majesty. I had the CD around, and sometimes just getting the preparations ready for the radio show. It's a fun. It's interesting, but it can be somewhat laborious, but not in a. I never seek to feel that. Temptation to feel that sometimes comes up, but it means that I just look at the manufacturer's manual. You have to go to the manufacturer's manual, the Bible. You know what I mean? To the great Emmanuel, and really see where you stand, because sometimes maybe an adjustment. Sometimes we might be a little bit overly such and such a way, and the Spirit and truth will balance us off, so we'll be stable and learned, not unstable and unlearned. The patient is in stable condition, but okay, I'll have to look around for it, in fact. But there's one, maybe I could find it on the internet. Some of y'all probably know it. Like, if you don't know the history of the Ark, then you a Skylark, right? There's a particular Ayabingi chant. If you don't know the history, at least it has that verse. That might not be the name of the chant, but one of the verses. Because sometimes, I don't know about the eye, but sometimes you get I might hear artists or someone sing or chant a tune, and like one verse or a line would echo. It's almost like when it says like this, Jah has spoken once and I've heard it twice. It's like you hear that word once and then it'll resonate in that sense. That's like the Mishnah, what we've been speaking about, the Mishnah, the Gemara and the Mishnah. That wasn't even seeking to bring forward a detailed teaching on it, but according to the application of these principles, this probably does need to be discussed and does need to be reasoned on, because once one has that basic knowledge of it, it puts a lot of the other learnings into a better perspective, into a better context, and even an application. Because then you see, where you have all the furniture, all the elements, but you need to see what the pattern is and how it works together. What's the procedure? What's the process? Because you might have one part that's very important, but maybe other elements are not there. So you might think that what you have is not that important or is not relative, throw that away to get something else, and later on you recognize, I really actually needed this right here. Because if you looked at the manufacturer's manual and you looked at that checklist, as Sister was saying, a lot of times people like check. Yeah, but it's whether the paymaster, Rastafari, Jah Rastafari, the paymaster gives them a check. I mean, you could pay yourself. It's really whether he pays you. Remember, Christ was saying that somebody fasting, they be having long faces and grimaces, and be showing that they be fasting on their faces, and they be getting a reward of men. And Christ said that they have their reward. They shouldn't expect any reward from the Father. You know what I mean? Because they've already received the reward of men and people. So check. They do all their check. They got their check. But will the paymaster, will he cut them a check? You know what I mean? Or maybe might even cut them off. But I don't know. That's in others' hands. We are. But our prayers, all right, just continue from there. I'll find that. But if you don't know the history, or if you don't know the, well, in a sense, you can say the history, the narrative of the Ark. But most people like to say the Ark of the Covenant. It's the Ark of the Covenant. Actually, it's the Ark of the Testimony. Right now, in that testimony, yes, there's a covenant. But check this out, even apart from the covenant, there's a testimony. See, it's a testimony that is really the heart of the covenant. And because we testify, but first of all, you must witness something before you can give a testimony to it. Like you can say, yes, I'll testify, but did you see anything? I'll testify. So if you needed someone to testify for you in a situation, right, well, we're not going to speak about these laws here and this society, but the principle of testimony and you want a reliable witness, a faithful witness. Are we reliable witnesses and faithful witnesses? But the first thing is to have that experience. Right, so even that experience in the Word, so that one can be a witness, a faithful witness, won't be a false witness. You know what I mean? So you'll be able to endure under the cross, under that cross-examination. Because if someone testifies or bears witness, sometimes people say, oh, I want to testify. Sometimes a testimony has to be cross-examined. Right? It has to be cross-examined. It has to be, in that sense, put to the test. That's what the Bible says. We're not to accept every wind of doctrine. Because sometimes in our testimonies are speaking some doctrinal things. You see, it's one thing if you say, well, this happened to me, such and such and such, so forth and so on. Now, but what does that mean in his sight? What does it really mean in his sight? You know what it means, or you should come to know what you think about it. But now, what does he think about it? You tell your father something, or you say your mother something. Oh, Daddy, what do you think about this? This is what happened to me, such and such and such. And now, you might be, I remember I used to be excited sometimes to share some things with my father, and he would give a kind of, he would accept what I said. Okay, that's interesting, that's good. But here's the real deal. He would like to do that. Like, here's the real deal with it. Such and such. Like the first time I started growing locks, I haven't shared this with many people, but I'll share this with you. First started growing locks, I was like, I kind of twisted 2 or 3 of the locks on like the top of my head, right? And they held. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was trying to do it still, right? And I kind of showed him. I was so excited. I was like, look, the locks, right? And so he just kind of looked at it, he just said, look, this is just. He knew how not to have a lot of emotions go to his face. Almost like, kind of in that sense, he prepared me in a sense for the Father of Fathers, for Abuna, for Negusuna. Right? He had that judge's face in a sense. And then he said, here's the thing. I don't care what's on your head. I'm concerned about what's in your head. And at first, it was a kind of a mixed reaction at first. Cause at first, it was almost like, oh man. But then when I thought about it, I said, I was happy because now I knew. I only did like 2 or 3 of the locks of my hair as locks, because if he didn't react negatively, I was gonna go through with it. I remember my mom came from around the partition in the kitchen. She looked and she was incredulous. You know what I mean? She snuffed at it. She did like a Sarah. I mean, her name is Sarah, but she did like a Sarah. She laughed, like almost like, and rolled her eyes and went back. So I was like, great. In my heart, I was like, I know I could do it. Because maybe they thought, or maybe she thought it was just like a passing phase. But they should have known me. No, I was going to do this. But when my pop said what he said, it made me think. It was like, it didn't deny my witness or what I showed him or I was seeking to testify to him. But he told me that the standard basically was a higher standard than just the appearance of it, my earthly. And I must admit that through the years and everything, well, he was the one that always gave me a haircut. You know, he was a good barber, and he had those skills and everything like that. I don't know if he thought that was a relief for him, because then he didn't have to give me haircuts as were on that level. But even if it was so, I recognized that his evaluation wasn't a petty one. But then it also encouraged me in that sense in doing what I had to do in that sense. So, but in other cases, there have been other cases where I was very excited about something, and he had to put me up on the reel. He didn't deny what I experienced, but he said, let me show you what's really behind that. So the same thing for our testimony. Sometimes we'll give testimony, the ones who give testimonies, and those who are more maybe rooted and grounded might cross-examine your testimony and might apply the cross to the testimony. And you might think and take that as something personal, like, because you're seeking a reward. You have to recognize where your heart, where your mind is. When you're seeking to please him and what is acceptable in his sight, one who might see his sight and be able to articulate his sight clearer to you as you grow becomes of a lot of value. Doesn't mean that we won't still go through our feelings and emotions, because those things we have to, wrestle with so that we can come to that peace as well. Anyway, that was a little segue there. I'm still thinking about that disc. I have it somewhere around here, that disc, on, I think, the Ayabingi. It's actually the Ark of the Covenant in Ayabingi. RasTafariGroundation. I remember the brother is on that particular CD. And also recall the brother from the Nyabingi house years ago, more than 10, 20 or so years ago as well. May, God bless him and keep him in his as well. That was a great work right there. And if you haven't checked it out, once we find it, we'll try to do something that will be like the woman who found that coin in Christ's parable. They had a big feast. She called for a big feast and said, rejoice with me. I said, just because you found a coin, or when you're looking for something that is important to you, when you find what you was missing or what you was looking for, others might not get it, but still, what did she say? Rejoice with me. Rejoice with me. So, study with me right here. We was at Psalm 141. We was talking about the prayers, right? And the prayers being set before, right? Before he who be who he be. Set before he who be who he be, before his face, as fumigation, right? Or the kitaret. The kitaret is the aishans, or more correctly, the sweet incense. Now, what's interesting about this word kitaret, fumigation, aishans, or sweet incense, is that we find this word from the H7004. Now, when we look at the H6999 or the H6999, we have Qatar. Like today we have Qatar over there in the Middle East, because over there in the Middle East was a place where a lot of this aishans or incense, right? But the root of this means to smoke, right? To turn into fragrance by fire. The basic root idea of Qatar or Qatar for Qitaret, which refers to the incense. Like, remember, on the altar, the golden altar is inside the temple. The golden altar is inside the tabernacle. And the original position was before the veil, right? That was before the Ark of the Covenant. In the time of the tabernacle of David, right, we find that the position of the altar, right, of aishans seems to have been within the veil, right? Seems to have been within the veil. I don't know whether they could not resist getting close to, even though there was that, that written, what was written in Moses. But we find later on that it seems as though the altar of incense became more, especially in the tabernacle of David, where the elements of the outer court, right, the blood sacrifices of the outer court were left in Gibeon, right? So we have a kind of refinement, a kind of a growing up to really the heart of the matter, which Psalm 141 brings out to us very well here. The essence of what we could say the kana besima will memphis kadu, or the cannabis, the cannabosum, right, or the sweet kana. The sweet kana was the essence is prayer. Prayer and praise. Let my prayers be set before thee as Aishans. That's like almost like an aliyah or the rising up, the anaphora. In a sense, the incense. This is one reason why you see in the Orthodox churches the use of incense. And you'll notice this in a lot of churches, especially the Western Gentile churches. They will have, maybe they will spray some kind of fragrance kind of stuff around, but many of them don't. I recall even my earthly, when my cousin got married in the Orthodox church, the Ethiopian Orthodox church, the one up in the Bronx, Kedist Selassie, that, she had some, I don't know if you call it misgivings or complaint about all the incense. I know some folks, that's a whole other reasoning right there with the incense, that was utilized. But I've always had wondered, why did it seem like different religions use incense, no doubt from the same basic principles, but I find that the Orthodox Church, particularly use the incense. Now as we study and we grow, we look at the manufacturers, I maker. He has made us. We have not made ourselves. Look at the manufacturer's manual, Psalm 141 and 2, where it says, let my prayer be set forth before thee, right? Before thee, ata or anta, right? Ata as incense. And the theme of incense, we were speaking about the Cannabis Committee and also on the Aishans and the sacrament and this practice and also the persecution of the Rastafari. But what would concern us and should concern us is to study to show ourselves approved. Right? Not just so that we can defend it before Babylon. Of course, with the study, we are able much better in spirit, on earth as well as in heaven to, defend it, to bind or to loose. Those keys are given to us, and we learn and can utilize that wisdom because of that growing in the spirit and growing in the truth and because that studying of the word. So it's not just for that reason, but this, no doubt, it comes within that category or that subject matter. But I want to emphasize that it's not just for that. Because some would want to just know, like, I'm in a situation with marijuana or the cannabis. I need some help. Babylon is saying this and that. And I heard you saying something about my prayers and something. Well, you should be a little more studied up on that. Mm-hmm. Remember that Moses was commanded to command the children of Israel. See, this is what separates the civilians in that sense. For those of us who are called and we answer and we choose and we receive that, right? To those who more is given, more is required. Right? So it's required for I and others of I and I to really remind I and I. I'm reminding myself as well. Right? So as we meditate on this word, as we even practice this word, right? In fact, this would be a good word sound. Mm-hmm. To bun, right? Bun responsibly, right? To bun the kana besima'ah wa walid wa menfes kedus. Because the kana, right? When we're speaking about the sweet incense, right? Now here it's called the kitoret, right? The kitoret, right? From the root katar, right? Katar, right? Which means to smoke, right? Or to turn into fragrance by fire, especially as an act of worship. This is just a basic study. We're using the word study software, and there's other study softwares out there that all basically utilize some of the same Masoretic texts, the same basic Hebrew for the Old Testament and the Koine for the New Testament, and the Strong's Concordance as a point of reference. So just reading right here, and we're using the Mackelsons. Mackelsons is a certain enhancement on the old Strong's Concordance. So if you have an old Strong's Concordance, maybe some of these upgrades right here, clarities, right, on the context of certain things that were found out since the time of Strong, and his compilation of that particular concordance might not be there. But this is, I would say, not just the latest and greatest, but it is much better, seeing that, we're familiar with the Strong's and Gesenius's lexicon, Hebrew lexicon, and we can tell you that much Ethiopic study has been put into revitalizing, in a sense, of the Hebrew language in speech, but also in like biblical studies, a very important key, because this gives us the context. Because otherwise, when you think of incense, right, you might be thinking of stick incense. And now stick incense is incense, but it's a latter-day Western Gentile sense of it. So when we're speaking about the cannabis or the cannabis, scripturally, biblically, you all know those lessons. We've touched on that. The Cannabis Matrix also gives some of the basic 411 on that we know that cannabis is in the Bible and even in the same connection with the Aishans, right? So we see right here in Psalm 141, right, that our prayers, right, notice the connection. The connection is that the incense is a is a symbol in a sense, or is connected with our prayers, right? Our prayers. And when we look at the tabernacle, right, and the basic, like Leviticus and the sacrificial rites, which is part of the calling, right, that call, right, and the smoke, right, and how what the smoke of the Aishans is fragrance. And this fragrance, right, this fragrance is turned into smoke by the use of fire, right, especially as an act of worship, right, especially as an act of worship. Now, this is a primitive root. Qatar also means to enclose, but has a translated sense of join, right? It's an idea, right, of the idea of fumigation, to fumigate, right, in a closed space or a closed place, And it can also, it also has the idea, they say perhaps, but it also has the idea of thus driving out the occupants. So the sense of Qatar is almost like when they say we're going to smoke them out, right? We're going to smoke them out of here. That's also a secondary or an associated idea of Qatar, right? Of the root act or the root idea of incense. So King James translated as to burn incense and also to burn sacrifice. So there's the burning of incense, and then there's the burning of the sacrifice, right? To burn, there's an altar for incense. There's the kindling of incense, and there's the offering of incense, the offering of Aishans as a sacrifice because, why? Psalm 141 and 2. Because in its root, primary, principal idea is connected with prayer. You see what I'm saying? It's connected with prayer. Of course, you can burn incense just so that your place smells better, or to get that effect. Okay, that's not a problem. One can do that. One is free, right? But that's more of just a day-to-day regular idea. That's not the holy idea. That's not the kedus, yet-to-kedes idea. The yet-to-kedes or the holy, the set apart. So that's using the incense in just a regular sense, a worldly sense, a natural sense, or a physical sense. But in a metaphysical or a spiritual sense, or in a heavenly sense, Psalm 141 and 2 actually hits it on the ras, on the head, on the Rastafari. It says, let my prayer be set before thee as incense. Now, you know how we like to do it, right? We like to, maybe a little intense about this, but let's go through this for the record. Let my what? Let my prayer, right? Let my prayer. Now, it's interesting because as we mentioned in the previous, the Rastafari Gemar, Hatima, Tova, the reasonment, or the reasonment on Jah worshippers, and what was the secondary idea? Selassie's chapel, or the temple, making reference to Revelation 11, right? But we made reference here to the 14th day of Megabit. And the 14th day of Megabit, here as part of the Nisbach, or the Sivket, or the preaching or the proclamation, connects with Matthew's, right? Matthew's Gospel, chapter 7, verse 1, right? Which says, E tequenenu, keme e titekwenenu. In other words, judge, or more correctly, a better translation is condemn. Condemn not. Because see, kwenene, from which we get mekonen, means judge, but it means judge in the sense of condemnation. For example, the time before the Moshiach, the time before Yeshua, right? Before Yeshua came into the world, before the Word took on flesh and tabernacled and dwelt amongst us, full of grace and truth. Before that time, the ages were called the Amete Quenene, right? Or the age, or the time, the age of condemnation, right? The Messiah has brought in the age of grace, or, O Lord of His mercy. So we have the Amete Miheret is mercy. So we have the time before, what ones might call BC, right, before Christ, and then we have the AD, Adonai's dominion, right? The time when there was condemnation upon all humanity, right? There was not the way into the holiest was not made. Only the high priest, as Aaron is, right, according to the Torah portion, we get that type of the high priest. Only he had access, right, into the holiest of holiest, but only at one time of the year, right, at one time. And even then, he had to perform like kind of a double sacrifice, one for himself, for his own sins, his own shortcomings, and then for the people, right? So you cannot even present, even though in everything else, the priest and the high priest was the one who almost like, in a spiritual sense, was like the attorney, was almost like one's attorney, so that when one came before, like into the court, to acknowledge their guilt, acknowledge their, like when they were summoned, like when you're summoned, that's a call, vayikra, that one was summoned, one came forward, and the priest would be like the court-appointed attorney, right, the court-appointed advocate in that sense. Now, the high priest was that for the nation, right? The high priest was that for all the people and all the priests and all the Levites and Kol Yisrael, for the whole nation. But even he, right, under the old covenant or the Brit Hashana, had to perform sacrifice both for himself, first for himself. He had to clear, when I say like clear yourself, he had to clear himself before he could clear the people. Now, what's so interesting about this, seeing that in the Ethiopian Tawahedo Beta Christian, or the true church in the professing Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Beta Christian, according to the liturgical, right, or the Kedase Yahweh calendar, we have for the 14th day of Megabit, which actually corresponds with, in this season, March 23rd, which was the Wednesday that this rolled up. We saw here the right, or condemn not, translated as judge not, so that ye be not judged. What is interesting is what Yeshua, what Rabboni Yeshua is teaching us, what Memharachin, right, our teacher, our master, what Yesu says in Matthew chapter 7. And we just got the Rhema word just came through in the connection with what I was saying on the Kahin HaGadol, the Kahinat, the high priest, that the high priest had to present an offering for himself, for his own sins, right, knowingly or unknowingly in that sense, as well as for the sins of the people. And then what Yeshua says to the disciples, right, what Yeshua says to the disciples in Matthew chapter 7, right, when he says judge not or condemn not, right, condemn not is the overstanding of it, right, or better understand. Let's say a better understanding of the context, right? And he says, for what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. Now, what will be interesting is to look into the Hebrew, right, and see what word he's using for judge. Why I say that is because when we look into the word prayer here in Psalm 141 and 2, we find the word tefillah, right? And the Jews, we speak about that in Judaism, the tefillah, right? But the tefillah actually comes from the root word palal. Now, palal also means to judge. So the tefillah today, the prayer, is thought of as an intercession or a supplication. In the implication, it's usually a hymn. It's a hymn, a song. So we get the Davidic tabernacle of David, the sacrifice of praise, the idea of praise, a hymn, a song, right, as it were, right? And then we have the root, right, palal, which means to judge. So the root of prayer is to judge, but it's not in the same sense as, for example, maybe shofet, right, which is another kind of judgment. You know what I mean? So when Christ says, judge not, and then he explains to them, right, with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. The context, he's saying, is stop condemning one another. You know what I mean? It's stop being condemnatory, right? Stop being. First of all, he's recognizing that because of the world, flesh, and the devil system, the people were all confused about things. Everything got confused. So now he is showing the true light. Then he goes on to say, why beholdest thou the mote, right, that is in thy brother's eye, almost like a little speck by comparison, that is in your brother's eye. In fact, I'm just seeing this right here in the center column, right, in the center column, next to judge in 7:1 of Matthew, where it says judge not. In the center column, they say in the sense of condemnation. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Right? Give thanks. Because even when we looked at that, we looked from the Metaf Kedus in His Majesty's Bible and the context there, getting into the grammar and the inner working of the pure language. But we came to the same, where the word is one and the same, is in the spirit and truth of the Moshiach. When he's saying judge not, he's saying condemn not, that ye be not condemned. Because you notice that people always condemn others, they suffer from a guilty conscience. And even if there is a way, they've already kind of entangled themselves. So what Christ is saying, here's how you untangle yourself. By first, he asks them the question, why do you behold, right, the mote that's in your brother's eye, and you don't consider the beam that is in thine eye? Think about it practically. If there's a speck in your brother's eye, but you got a beam in your eye, if you really want to help your brother, you want to see as clear as possible. So you take the mote out of your own eye. Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, look, the beam is in thine own eye. Thou hypocrite. All right, thou hypocrite, first cast out. You're almost forgetful. Right? You're forgetful, or in the other sense of hypocrite, from the Greek, you're wearing a mask. right? Let me play doctor, right? But you can't see clearly. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. And I've heard people use this area to say, just leave me alone. You can't, right? Like when the brother said, was it Brother Raji said on the Rastafari Testify Tuesday, brother, you said, what you said, oh man, you're just meditating this right here. That only God, like when people say only God can judge them. And he said, you should be afraid. You should be really afraid that, and people say that because they're not speaking of the true God and Father of our black Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They're speaking of their figment of their imagination, right? The idol that they've made, right? That they've called Christ, right? But this is the true and living Christ, his word, his life. He says, give not that which is holy produce to the dogs. Neither cast y'all your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you and rip you a new one. That's what happens a lot of times. Ones are casting the pearls that they're getting before swine, and then they're wondering why the people are ready to rip them a new one. Right? Now, notice something about that verse right there, 7 and 6. Right? So in a sense, what Christ is teaching here is the same principle that was taught concerning the high priest. Right? And even concerning the priest to another level for other days and other times and rites and rituals. But the high priest had to clear himself first. That you have to clear yourself first, in order to be truly able. Now, people say, well, nobody's perfect, so nobody can help nobody. That's Satan's speech. That's serpent's speech. He clearly says that, we might have a mote in our eye and want to help our brother or sister with a beam in their eye, or mother with a beam in their eye. We are able to do it, but first, we have to clear ourselves. We have to take that mote, right, that speck out of our own eye. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't say, that's impossible. He didn't say that there, because otherwise that would contradict other teaching where he says that ye shall sit on 12 thrones judging. He used the word judge, right? He said, y'all, speaking the disciples and the children of Israel by extension, shall sit on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And then Israel also having that, the children of Israel, the children of the Ethiopians, when they are in covenant, to even judge among other nations, right? In Yahweh, truth, and life. So he's not saying it's impossible. See, a serpent speech comes in, nobody's perfect and this and that and the next thing, but they have not looked at the maker, at John Maker, at the maker's, the manufacturer's manual, or the manufacturer's warranty, or any of those conditions. And you really should. He says, give not that which is holy to dogs. Now notice this right here, to continue where we were from the previous. It says in Revelation chapter 11, the times of the Gentiles, and there was given me a reed like to a rod, and the Melach, the angel, stood, saying, rise, Tinsaye, rise, resurrection, rise, and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar. Right, we identify that as the golden altar of Aishans that's within the tabernacle, and them that worship therein. That's that church that the first martyr, Estefano, St. Stephen, said, the church that was in the wilderness. That church that was in the wilderness, speaking about the tabernacle, right? But it says, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. Now, we had went to Ezekiel chapter 8, 5-9 in the previous, and 40 and 17. Now, just to testify and just to be a witness, first of all, give thanks to Wyndham Ison for that particular pick, and also the other brothers and sisters as well. Some very interesting ones, for some of the study, word picks and some of the links that have been shared on RasTafariGroundation.com. But for Brother Ison, the one that you did on the Tammuz, because we saw it, I think, in the earlier part of the Shabua, and he was like, we really want to work on that. And we had an inspiration for that. That was a good visual there, and hopefully we still will. But now I'm seeing in this Rhema word here that come around again, especially with Ezekiel chapter 8, 5-9, and Ezekiel 40 and 17, how it refers to Revelation, rightly dividing the word, Revelation 11 and 2, but the court, which is without the temple, leave out. So the temple, in that sense, would be as the tabernacle, right? The tabernacle or the tent. Then in the outer court is what? Is the elements of sacrifice. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. Don't measure. So the key word there, measure, and what Yeshua says in 7 and 2 of Matthew's gospel, measure. For it is given to the Gentiles. It's given to the nations, right? The Goyim. And the holy city, get that? Shall they tread underfoot 42 months. This context here about the holy, don't give that which is holy. So they enter into the Kadesh. It's saying, enter into the Kadesh. Right? Once you come to that feet of the Moshiach, right, the brazen altar, receive that lamb, the lamb of Elohim, the Seha Elohim, the Beguer Exiavi Herbeg, right, the lamb of God, Right? We receive it, we appropriate it, we eat, right? We eat the flesh and we drink the blood. Right? Remember, we're speaking parabolically here, metaphorically here, right? Basically, that life, that word, that life, his word is spirit and his life. We receive that liberty of the Christ of his majesty, the King of Kings Christ, right? And so, therefore, we worship where? In the temple of Elohim, of Kedus Selassie, and the altar, right? That altar, the altar of Aishans, symbolic of let my prayers be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. And then that worship, that's that worship. Remember how the Aishans, right? The incense, the smoke of the incense, and the fragrance that is made by fire, and how that is the ancient Hebraic act of worship, right? So those who worship, and see, this is the worship that is his. Other people say, well, I don't like incense. Well, I hear that. I really don't know what to say about that. I give thanks that, that I don't mind incense, Aishans, and actually in prayer and worship, I've come to love Aishans and really see its spiritual metaphysical use, so I can only pray for them. But some, see, that's the outer court. That's the outer court, and the court which is without the temple, leave out. See, those are going through the sacrificing, sacrilege, and I'm sacrificing everything. That's the problem. You sacrifice, you receive his sacrifice of his son. The Seha Elohim, the Lamb of God. You're doing all your sacrificing stuff. And who are you sacrificing to? See, the Gentiles move on the Goyim, the nations move on Molech, public opinion, right? Not the Melech, not the king, and not the king, the Melech, HaMelachim, the king of the kings, the king of kings. They move on their own, on public opinion. So that's what you see. A lot of them even right now getting ready for Easter in this 2016 year. This Easter on March, was it 20 something coming up, 20, I think Sunday coming up. In this season right here, which is for us, it's like almost a whole month off. But that's because the leap year threw them off. Them stumble and fall. The leap year kind of has thrown them off. So the idea about that which is holy in the holy city, right, and the Gentiles elsewhere, and those going to tread on the foot are often likened to dogs, right? Even the Sodomites are likened to the dogs, the city which is spiritually called, Sodom and Egypt, right? So give not that which is holy. Well, I'm going to try to, give not that which is holy to dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they do what? Trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot, on feet, 42 months. Well, that's very clear. That should be very clear there. Now, in the remaining time that we have here, wow, that was a rhema word, that connection. So let me just follow the Spirit, just go with the Spirit. We have the presentation we're seeking to bring forward, but what he blesses, the rhema, the right now word that proceeds, from I and I mouth in his Spirit. I and I give thanks, because actually when you look at Exodus, let's look at Exodus, movement of Jah people, and it says right here, it says, let's see, this is Exodus, let's go to Exodus chapter, let's bring this up right here, a connection that they have right here in this, here we go, it's Exodus 19:29. Actually 29:30, Slika. You could Exodus 29 and 30. Exodus 29 and 30 says, and that son that is priest in his stead shall put them on 7 days when he cometh into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister in the holy place. Right, in the holy place. Now we're looking at this. They made a reference to this right here. I guess it's linking that going into the holy place. They said put them on 7 days, right? Because that ministry was for, you could say, 7 days. Basically the Shabuah, right? From, we say, almost Shabbat to Shabbat, as it were. Now it has Revelation 5 and 8, right? Revelation 5 and 8, and also Revelation 8 and 3. Let's see if this has a connection here. This is also that verse from Psalm 141 and 2. It says, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps, and golden vials, right? Golden vials, which is like a vial, is like a broad, shallow cup full of odors or thumiyama, like an aroma, a fragrant powder burnt within a service, by implication, the burning itself. By implication, is the burning itself. Now, what's interesting is when we look at even some of the hieroglyphs and we see these offerings, these conical, these cones, that right there is very much a likeness to those vials full of odors, right, or the aishans, right, which are the prayers, which are the what? See, the golden, remember the golden altar of aishans, the golden. Now, what does gold symbolize? Gold, spiritually, according to the Hebrew metaphysics, the gold symbolized divinity in manifestation, in man, in manifestation. So this is not like, say there might be incense or aishans or cannabis that one might just burn just in a regular sense, maybe medicinally, as you would say. But that's different than sacramentally. This is sacramentally, golden vials full of odors, right, or full of the aishans, right, but they describe it as a fragrant powder. Thumiyama is an aroma in the sense, the religious sense, of a fragrant powder burnt within a service, that's burnt during that service. By implication, it's the burning of the aishans itself, which are, it says, the prayers, right? So what it's explaining here is interesting in Revelation, is doing what the Hebrews would do. We would say a word, for example, the veil, like in the epistles to the Hebrews, and we say that is to say, to give the interpretation of the metaphor, the veil, that is to say the flesh, the golden vials, right, full of odors, or the aishans, which are the prayers of the saints, or the prayers of the Kedusan, the prayers of the set apart, the prayers of the sacred, the pure, the blameless, the consecrated. And we have to recognize this, because a lot of people would have a problem with holy, because they would have an idolatrous view, a worldly view of holy. So when some say, well, nobody's a saint, nobody's holy, because they have an idolatrous point of view. If they understand what the Hebrew, or as Christ would say, the Jews, ye worship what you know not, we know what we worship, for salvations of the Jews. So if they would look at it from the context of it, it's one who is set apart. Now, this right here in Revelation 5 and 8 is a direct link, right? Is a direct link to Psalm 141 and 2. So Psalm 141 and 2 is linked to Revelation 5 and 8, as well as 8 and 3. Let's just go to 8 and 3. In Revelation 8 and 3, it says, and another angel came, another Melech, right, another messenger, another heavenly minister, another angel came and stood at the altar, right? He stood at the altar, right, at that place of sacrifice, the altar, right, or the Thuasiasterion, right, the altar, having a golden censer, right, having a golden, the word for censer in the Greek is lebanotos, which they say refers to, Lebanon, but Lebanon or Lebanon, Laban, white, Laban is that frankincense, right? By extension, it's a censer for burning it, right? But in the covenant, the sacramental sense, this also would represent the chalice. So having a golden, right, chalice, right, a golden chalice, and there was given to him much incense, enough thumiyama, aroma, fragrant powder, burnt within the service, the burning itself, that he should offer it with the prayers, right, with this is interesting, proshukai is the Greek word, proshukai. It's not like prosecute, the proshukai, which is the prayers. By implication, it's an oratory within the chapel. And the connection here is the chapel. Selassie is the chapel, the oratory, that word sound, right? That word sound and power, that prayer, right? With the prayers of the saints, of the set-apart ones, upon the golden altar. Upon what? The golden altar. This is the same golden altar of aishans, right? The kitaret, mezbeach, right? The mezbeach, it's an altar, but of the kitaret, right? The golden altar, which was before the throne, which was before the thronos. The thronos in the Greek, the thronos. What is the thronos? The thronos is a stately seat, quote, throne, end quote. By implication, it's power. Concretely, in its concrete sense, it's a potentate, a sovereign, a ruler, even the king of kings, even Abuna, Negusa Negest, right? Kedamawi, Haile Selassie. If it's from the root, the word throne comes from the root thrao. The word thrao means to sit. So it's a seat, it's a throne. But now what do we have here? We have the innermost of the inner of the tabernacle, of the temple. We have Selassie's chapel. We have where the Ark of the Covenant. We have the mercy seat, We have between the two cherubims, we have the revelation of Rastafari right here. So this is a full, right? As we connect 141, right? Begin off with the Psalms of David, right? Psalm 141 and 2. And then we follow up from Psalm 141 and 2. We follow up we go to, Exodus 29 and 30, I think is still a good reference. There's another reference that actually speaks a little bit more to when we're speaking about the Kana Bosom. But the next link in Revelation, the two Revelation links actually tie a little bit more, at least clearly, to our site with this. And that is Revelation 5 and 8 and Revelation 8 and 3. So the prayers, right, the prayer, right, the tefillah, right, that hymn, right. And now I wondered about this, right. I said, wait, the root of a tefillah, which is the Hebrew word for prayer here and elsewhere, means to judge. And then in the context, it means to judge officially. What do we mean by official judgment? Right? Well, this is interesting because what does official mean? Right? And this kind of goes along with, some new maybe phrases or words or concepts that are being introduced to be rightly understood and used when we talk about civilians. Right? Those who are civilians. What do we mean? Those who are Salamawi. Those who are Salamawiyan. Right? This is to say the lay people, the women, the children, by and large, though some women, might be officers and soldiers as well. You know what I mean? There is not any mekalakalia, like any hindrance, to that because of so-called, quote, gender, end quote, on that level. And we're talking about a good soldier. But we're talking about like the officers, right? To be a minister in the service, right? The armed service. Armed with what, right? Paul talks about what we're armed with. He speaks about our weapons. He speaks about the weapons of our warfare, right? Even the sword. How can you go out to battle and fight and you don't have the sword? What is the sword? The sword is the word of God. Okay, you got a Bible. You understand? That is good right there, but have you studied to show yourself approved so you do not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word? Right? Need not be ashamed. So if you don't study and show yourself approved, doesn't logic tells us that if one goes beyond that, right, in an official, remember, official means according to law. This is the key idea. Official means that when something's official, it is according to a law. That's what it means. People say, I have an office. No, you have a bureau. Or you have a room or place you do something. But even in a conceptual sense, we can understand how one might have an office. But we're coming from, we look at the tabernacle here, right? So perhaps we'll go up into that reasonment, that reasonment in the forward. This will be like little more, modules and teachings on certain key things, and we'll call this one, well, what the final name, we'll let the Holy Spirit reveal that to us, but this right here is on the cannabis, right? The cannabis prayers. Right, the prayer of cannabis. No, I don't know, Cana of Galilee prayer. No, we didn't talk about Cana of Galilee, but basically the Aishans, the cannabis Aishans actually and the evening sacrifice, because the second part of Psalm 141, right? So this is more on the cannabis. We saw the cannabis matrix. I guess the cannabis prayer, right? Because it's connected with prayer and the evening, sacrifice, but to be found under sacrament, because sacrament and religious practice, category sacrament. What is a sacrament? A religious practice. What we learned about here in this Torah portion, the principles, but also the sacraments, or the korban notes, and 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 the korban notes.
Lush, perfect, blessed, Moraya, 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 Moraya.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. 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 Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. For 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 thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense. As incense. Before thee as incense. As incense.
years and so many millions. Heard on high, praising the Rastafari. Angels carry on, sound song, cherubim upon his seraphim. Heard on high, praising the Rastafari. Angels carry on, sound song, cherubim upon his seraphim.
Yes, yes, yes. So the action has a lot to do with the prayers. May our prayers rise high to the Most High. So here, today's daily song.
Psalm 141.
מזמור קמ"א, מזמור לדוד.
Lord,
אדוני, 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 אדוני.
I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me.
אדוני קראתיך חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי.
Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Cry unto thee.
האזינה קולי בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, as incense, as incense, as incense.
תיקום תפילתי כתורת לפניך, 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 לפניך.
And the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice.
משאת כפיים מנחת הארץ.
Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with men that work iniquity, and let me not eat of their dainties. Let the righteous smite me. It shall be a kindness. And let him reprove me. It shall be an excellent oil, which shall not break my head. For yet my prayer also shall be in their calamities. When their judges are overthrown in stony places, they shall hear my words, for they are sweet. Our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. But mine eyes are unto thee, O God the Lord. In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares which they have laid for me, and the gins of the workers of iniquity. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, whilst that I withal escape.
מזמור קמ"א, מזמור לדוד. אדוני קראתיך חושה לי, האזינה קולי בקוראי לך. תיכון תפילתי כתורת לפניך, משאת כפיים מנחת ערב. שיטה אדוני שמרה לפי, נצרה על דל שפתי. אל תת ליבי לדבר רע, להתעולל עלילות ברשע, את אישים פועלי אבן, ובל אלחם במנעמיהם. יהלמני צדיק חסד, ויוכיחני שמן ראש על יני ראשי, כי עוד ותפילתי ברעותיהם. נשמטו בידי סלע שופטיהם, ושמעו אמרי כי נענו. כמו פולח ובוקע בארץ, נפזרו עצמנו לפי שאול. כי אליך אלוהים אדוני עיני, וכך עשיתי על תיער נפשי. שומרני מדי פח יתשו לי, ומוקשות פועלי אבן. יפלו ומחמוריו רשעים, יחד אנוכי עד אעבור.
Everything takes time. My evil boy, everything takes time. My evil boy, everything takes time.
Yahuwah, Kratika, Khushali, Hazina Kolli, De Kari, Mizmor Kof Mim Aleph, Mizmor Kof Mim Aleph. Psalm 141. Here a midrash on today's psalm. Mizmor Kof Mim Aleph, Mizmor Kof Mim Aleph. Mizmor LeDavid. Yahuwah Kratika Khushali Hazina Kolli De Kari Lach. A psalm of David. Lord Yahuwah Jehovah, I have called thee. Make haste to me. Give ear to my voice when I call to thee eye. Mizmor LeDavid. Yahuwah Kratika Khushali Hazina Kolli Bekai Lach. Shlomo Hamelech. Solomon said, the Lord is far from the wicked, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. Here, the Mishlei Shlomo, the Proverbs of Solomon, chapter 15, Proverbs 15, verses 29 to 30. The Lord is far from the wicked, the ratchet, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. Rachok Yahuwah me'arsha'im, u'tefilat tzadikim yishma. Mor aynayima yismach leib. Shmu'a tova tedashen atzem. He who be, Yahuwah Jehovah, is far from the wicked. Rachok Yahuwah me'arsha'im, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. U'tefilat tzadikim yishma. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart. Meor aynayim yismach leib, and a good report maketh the bones fat. Shmu'a tova tidashen atzem. Here, Shlomo said, he who be is far from the ratchet, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He. May the eyes of the righteous shine. May their hearts rejoice. May their bones fat. In that He gave them good tidings. And what were the good tidings He gave them? That is written at the end of the preceding psalm, namely Psalm 140, verses 12 to 14, that reads, the violent and evil man shall be hunted with thrust upon thrust. I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the poor and the rights of the needy. Surely the righteous shall give thanks to thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. Ish lashon bala yichona ba'aretz, isha chamas ra'a yitzudenu le'mada chevot.
Ya da'ita, ya da'ita, ya da'iti, kia ya ise, Yahuwah din onni, mishpata evyonim, akal tzadikima yodua lishmecha, yeshvua yisharim et paneka. Here, a slanderer shall, the fuller verses, a slanderer shall not be established in the earth. Ish lashon, bala yikon ba'aretz, a slanderer, ish, a man, lashon, a man of tongue, ish lashon, bala yikon ba'aretz. The violent and evil man, isha hamas ra'a, the violent man, evil, isha hamas ra'a, shall be hunted with thrust upon thrust. Yitzudeinu li madachefot, thrust upon thrust. Yitzudeinu will be hunted. Yitzudeinu li madachefot. Here, the katib, yada'ita, 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 the I know, the I know. Yada'ita, here the kare, yada'iti, 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 I know. I have known. Yada'iti, I know because I have known. So here the Katib says, speaking to the I, Yada'ita, 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 the I, speaking to a male, no. Yada'ita, here the Kare, Yada'iti, what it said, Yada'iti, Kia, Ya'ise, Yahuwah din oni. I know that he who he be, will maintain the cause of the poor. Yada'ita, Kia, Ya'ise, Yahuwah din oni. The I know. I know that he who he be will maintain the cause of the poor. Yada'iti ki ya'aseh Yahuwah din onni. I know that he who he be will maintain the cause of the poor and the right of the needy, the judgment of the needy. Mishpat evyonim, mishpat evyonim, mishpat ebyonim, of the Ebionites, the Ebyonim, mishpat ebyonim. Surely, ak, for show, verily, for show, ak, tzadikim, for show, the righteous, the tzadikim, yodu, will give yada, yodu, will give thanks, yodu, lishmecha, to shemeka, the Hashem, even the Hashem, HaKadosh, Baruch Hashem, the upright shall dwell in thy presence. Yeshvua yisharim et paneka, Yeshbu yisharim etapaneka etafanecha. The upright, the yisharim, shall dwell, shall be seated. Yeshbu shall yashar, be seated, be enthroned. Yeshbu yisharim shall dwell. Etapaneka, in thy face, in thy presence, in thy perception. Here. Accordingly, David, he prayed, I beseech thee, make I be in the number of those that will behold, paneka et fanecha, the eye face, the eye presence, the eye perception, Yahuwah o Jehovah, HaKadosh, the Holy One, Baruch Hu, blessed be he, Baruch Hashem, blessed be the name.
Kadamawi.
To whom praise is due forever.
Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breasts. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. To whom? For with stammering lips and another tongue, for with stammering lips and another tongue, for with stammering lips and stammering lips and stammering lips to this for with stammering lips and another tongue to this
Lord, I have called to thee. Make haste to me. Yahuwah Kratika Chushali Jehovah Yahuwah Adonai Kratika Chushali Jehovah, I have called to thee. Yahuwah Kratika, make haste, Chusha, make haste, Chusha, make haste, Chusha, li, make haste to me, Chusha li, Yahuwah Kratika, Chusha li, What is meant by the words Chusha li, make haste, Chusha, to me, li, Chusha li? It is meant that David said, quote, even as I made haste to call thee, the I, do thou make haste to me. Chushali, make haste to I, make haste to I, make haste to I. And here a midrash note on Mizmor Kof, Mem Aleph, Mizmor Kof, Mim Aleph. Psalm 141, Psalm CXLI. Here, midrash note here. To call thee. This is Padua's emendation. In the ET, the edited text, it reads, quote, to practice thy precepts. To practice thy precept. It is meant that David said in saying, Chushali, make haste to me, even as I make haste to call thee. Even as I make haste to practice thy precepts. Do the I make haste to me. Yahuwah Kratika Chushali. What parable, what mashal, what parable, what proverb, mashal, mishle, what proverb fits here, what parable fits here? That of the man who had a lawsuit before the ruler. When the man saw that all the other litigants had advocates to plead for them, he called to the ruler and said, I beseech thee, all the litigants must have their advocates, but I have no advocate. I have no one to plead for me. Be thou my judge, and be thou, my advocate. In like manner, David called. One man puts his trust in the decorous and upright acts he has performed. Another puts his trust in the acts of his fathers, of his patriarchs. But I put my trust in thee, in the I, even though I have no righteous acts. Answer me, answer I, because I have called to thee. I have called to the I. Hence, here in Mizmor Kof, Mem Aleph, in Psalm 141. Here, hence, David said, Yahuwah Kratika, Chushali, Jehovah, he who be, we be. I have called thee, Yahuwah Kratika. Make haste, Chusha, make haste to me, Chushali. Let my prayer, make my prayer be set before thee as the incense, as the aishins, and make the lifting up of my hands be an evening sacrifice. Make my prayer be set forth before thee as the incense, the aishins, and make the lifting up of my hands be an evening sacrifice. Here. Hebraically, the Aleph verse right here. Tikon, tiflati, kitoreta lefanecha, masaata kapaya, minachata areb. Make my prayer be set forth. Tikon, tiflati, tikon, to be set. Tikon, tiflati, my prayer, I pray, tiflati. Kitoret lefanecha, kitoret aishans lefanecha, as aishans before the eye, lefanecha, in the eye's face, in the eye's presence, before the eye. Tikona tifilati, kitoreta lefanecha, masaat kapai, masaat, the lifting up, masaat kapai, of my hands, kapai, of my palms, of my hands, kapai, masaata kapai, minachata areb. Minchat, the minka. The minka, what is called the minka. Here, Hebraically, the minchat, also known as the minkat. Minchata Arab, Minchata Arab, the Arab, or the Arev, as some would say Arev, the evening, Arab, Minchata Arab. Tikon tifilati ketreta lefanecha, Mas'at kapai, Minchata Arab. May my prayer be set forth as ancients before the eye, in thy face. Tikon tifilati ketreta lefanecha. The lifting up of my hands, masata kapai, of my kapai, of the palms of my hands, kapai, minchata areb, minchat, the evening, the meal offering, minchat areb, of the evening. And here on the kitaret, the ancients, kitaret, the ancients, the Masa'at kapai, the lifting up of my hands, or Hebraically, the lifting up of my palms. Masat kapai, masat from nasa, masa'at kapai, the lifting up of my palms, and the minchat areb, the minkata areb, the evening sacrifice. Here, incense, the ketoret, the ancients Hebraically, as we have in Psalm 66, Hebraically, the 15th verse, we have the sweet smoke of rams, the ketoret, the ancients. So the word is employed of the odor, the ketoret, the odor of the sacrifice, burning on ha-mizbeach, on the mizbach, the altar. The psalmist here is evidently precluded from bringing an offering and hopes that tefillah, his prayer, will be an efficacious, effective substitute. We also have Hosea chapter 14, verse 3 right here, with the ancients. Tikon tefillati ketoret lefaneka. May my prayer be set forth as incense, before the eye, in the eye presence, the ketoret, the ancients, lefanecha, in the eye's face, before the eye, or may my prayer be set forth before thee as the ancients, as the ketoret. Lifting up of my hands, the masa'ata kapai. Here, bringing out the Hebrew, the kap, right? The kap or the kaf, the palm of the hand. As the Hebrew letter kaf, we have the Hebrew letter kaf, and the Hebrew letter kaf, even in the latter asherit or the Masoretic, the square pointing, brings out that sense of the palm, the cup palm of the hand, as to receive. And here, with the masa'at kapai, the lifting up of my palms, the lifting up of my hands, more specifically, the lifting up of my palms, here is the attitude, here is the visual glyph, or the attitude of prayer, the lifting up of the palms, the lifting up of the hands. We also have it in Psalms 28, Hebraically, the second verse, Psalm 28, XXVII, and 2, as well as in Psalm 63, Hebraically, the fifth verse, Psalm LXIII, Hebraically, the fifth verse, the lifting up of the hands, and here the masa'at kapai, the lifting up, the masa'at of the palms, the kapai of my hands, and the minchat areb, the minkata areb. We have the evening areb, the areb, or some would point it as areb, but here it's pointed as areb, the evening minkat, the evening offering, We have the evening offering. So here in Numbers, we have Numbers, the fourth book of Moshe, the Hebrew book by Midbar in the wilderness called Numbers chapter 28, XXVII and 4. And here in Numbers chapter 28 and 4, it reads, the one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb shalt thou offer at even. So the KJV reads, the one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb shall thou offer at even. So here, looking at the Chumash and looking at the Masoretic Hebrew, we have Eta ha-kaves echad ta'ise v'boker ve'eta ha-kavesa ha-sheni ta'ise bein ha-arba'im. Ha-arba'im. Here, the one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning. Eta ha-kaves, the kaves, ha-kaves, or some would enunciate as ha-kaves, kaves. Eta ha-kavesa echad, the one, ta'ise shalt thou do, ta'ise, ba-boker, in the boker, and the other lamb shalt thou offer at dusk, or the even, KJV, the evening. Ve'eta ha-kavesa hasheni, the second, hasheni, ta'ise shalt thou do, bain, between ha-arba'im, between the evenings. Bain ha-arba'im, between the evens, or at even, or at dusk. So here the evening sacrifice in Numbers chapter 28 verse 4. So the mention of this particular offering here in Mizmor Kof Mem Aleph, Kof Mem Aleph, in this Mizmor Lidawi, this chant intonation, Isis of David, Mizmor Lidawi, the mention of this particular offering here led some to suggest that this particular psalm, Psalm 141, Psalm CXLI, this psalm was composed, some say as a hymn, for the evening use and for the evening service here, with focus on this verse here, the Beit verse, or the second verse Hebraically, Tikon, Tifilati, Kitoreta lefaneka, Masa'ata kapai, Minchata areb. May my prayer be set forth as incense, as aishance before thee, the eye, before the eye's face, in the eye's presence, perception. The lifting of my hands, or kapai, my palms, masa'ata kapai, as the evening sacrifice, minchat areb. And just a little bit more right here on the mincha, Hebraically from the Hebrew, mincha. In this form here, minchat. Others say the minka. May hear I and I say the minka, as it's pronounced in modern Hebrew, minka. Hebraically, the mincha, and the minchat. The minka, the minkat. Here, the H4503, and it's defined according to the BDB definition as a gift, tribute, offering, present, oblation, sacrifice, meat offering. And here we'd like to zoom in on the fact that what is called in Old English, and particularly the KJV, the King James Version, as the meat offering, is a bloodless offering, is usually a grain offering, and does not have any debtors or any flesh. All right, so here this is a gift, present, tribute, and offering, Elohim, to the true good, the true God, and the grain offering. The grain offering. And it's said to come from a more ancient, unused root word meaning to apportion, or to bestow. The part of speech, this word is feminine, the part of speech right here. Now, Strong's definition brings out the mincha, the minka, as a portion, bestowal, a donation. In a euphemistic sense of the word, it's tribute. Specifically, the mincha is a sacrificial offering. It's an offering, the type a sacrificial offering, and usually it is a bloodless and voluntary. So usually it's bloodless as a grain offering, no debtors, and it's voluntary. It's a gift, oblation, an offering, often called in the KJV, the King James Version, often referred to as a meat offering. More correctly, it should be meal offering, being usually the grain offering, a present, and in this context, quote, a sacrifice, though the more correct word would be an offering. And the word mincha, is found in various places. One of the first mentions is in Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 4, verse 3, concerning the offering found in this verse here. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain, that Cain, brought of the fruit of the ground, and offering La Yahweh to Jehovah is one of the first areas. And the second area found, the second place in Bereshit in Genesis chapter 32, verse 14, where the English reads right here. The English reads, just to bring this out right here, just getting the word in the verse. Now, this is one of those verses. This is one of those verses where sometimes the English and the translations don't quite agree, because it might be the next verse over. It's the next verse over, not that specific verse. But here in Genesis chapter, yes, it's in chapter 32, verse 14 in the English, where it says, and he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present. So here's the mincha, a present for Esau, for Esau, his brother. So here is some of the first usages within the scripture of the mincha, and its other places. But now in the sense of the psalm, what Dawid is bringing forward is intimately connected with the tabernacle worship, and is according to the pattern. So even with the verse, may my prayer be set forth as incense before thee. In the Hebrew, he's saying tikon, to be set, right? To be set, tikon, right? Also, like nachon means right in Hebrew, like nachon, like it's right. Tikon, the sense here is that it be set, that it be proper. Tifilati, my prayer be proper, be right, be set as proper, right. Kitoret, aishans, my prayer, and the connection of my prayer, aishans, lefaneka, before the eye. So bringing out the more direct sense, and even the translations where it says, let my prayer be set forth as. In the Hebrew, we don't have a as or like or as. It's more direct. Tikon, tifilati, my prayer be set, be right. Kitoret, aishans, before the eye. So here, I'm bringing this forward out right here, and we have just zoomed in just to bring in the sense in the second part. Masa'at kapai, the lifting up of my hands, min hata areb. It's not as the translator puts in as. The as is not there. So it implies that the Aishans prayer and the lifting up of the hands, evening sacrifice. And there we are getting the tabernacle of David sense, a man after Jehovah's own heart, and more of the Berit Chadasha, the true worship sense, based on the Hebrew pattern. So here, looking in the KJV, right, if you look in the KJV version of today's psalm, Mizmor Kof Mem Aleph, Mizmor Kof Mem Aleph, we have the as before incense italicized, the and also italicized, and the next as italicized. So the direct reading, let my prayer be set forth, Aishans, right, set forth before the Aishans, the lifting up of my hands, or kapai, my palms, the evening sacrifice, or the evening offering, the evening mincha. So here, David choosing these words. What did David mean by the words, let my prayer be set forth? As the Aishans, Tikon, Tifilati, Ketoret, Lefaneka. It's as though David said, Adonai, my Lord, as long as the temple was standing, we set forth incense, Aishans, Ketoret, in the Amharic Ketoret, Ethiopiacally the Itan, the Ketoret, we set forth Ketoret, Lefaneka, before the eye and the eye's face. But now that we have neither altar, Mizbeach, nor Kohen Gadol, high priest, except thou, Tifilati, except thou my prayer, Tifilati, Tzelote, Tifilati, my prayer. May the firmament open so that Tifalati, my prayer, can come before the eye, in the eye's presence, in the eye's face. Hence, here, David said, let my prayer, make my prayer be set forth before thee as the ancient, the lifting up of my hands, my palms, as an evening sacrifice. Tikon tifalati ketoreta lefanecha masata kapai minachata areb. In connection with these words, one may read in Scripture, even in Ezra chapter 9, verses 5 to 6, where it reads, at the evening offering, I arose up from my fasting, even with my garment and my mantle rent. And I fell upon my knees, and spread out my hands to the Lord my God. And I said, oh my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to thee, to the eye. Oh my God, Elohai, Haliai. Ua v'minchata ha'ereba kamatia, mia ta'enitia, ua v'kara'ia, v'kadia, ua me'ilia, wa ekre'a Allah birkaya, wa efarisaka paya liya huwa Elohai. And at the evening offering, ua v'minchata ha'ereb, I arose from my fasting, even with my garment and my mantle ripped, and I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands to Yahweh, Jehovah Elohai, my Elohim, my power. Uabe minchata ha'ereba kamatia miya ta'enitia, uabe karaiya, bigdiya, uame eliya, wa ekre'a. Allah birkai wa efresakapai Eliyahuwa Elohai. And I said, wa omra Elohai boshtia winikalamtia laharim Elohai panai eleka kia onoteno rabua le ma'ela rosh we asha matenu Gadla al-Lashamayim. And I said, Elohai, Haliai, O my Elohim, my true good, true God, my power, Elohai. I am ashamed, Elohai, Boshti, I'm ashamed and blush to lift up my face to thee, Elohai, Boshtia, we nikalamtia le harim, Elohai, panai, eleka, for our iniquities are increased over our head, over the head. Ki e onotenu rabua le ma'ela rosh, and our guiltiness with ashmatenu, and our guiltiness ashmatenu is grown up. Gadala has become big. Gadala, grown up, become big. Ad la Shemayim is grown up to the heavens. So here we have Ezra's confession and prayer, the connection with the evening offering, the time when the itinual daily offering of the evening was brought, and the reference to Numbers, Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 28, here, verse 4, point of reference. And here we have Ezra's confession concerning his fasting, concerning his garment and his mantle being rent, falling upon his knees. Literally in the Hebrew here, he has knelt. He knelt. Berkai. Knelt. For kneeling at prayer, we have 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 54. We have Psalm 95, Hebraically the 6th verse, and Daniel chapter 6, verse 11, and the spreading out, where he mentions the spreading out of his hands. The spreading out of his hands. Here we have wa efresa kapaya liyahuwa Elohai, where he says that and spread out my hands to Jehovah Elohai, Haliyai. This is the attitude for this attitude of supplication, the spreading out of the hands, the lifting of the hands. We have Exodus chapter 9, verse 29, 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 22, and Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15. So why did Ezra arise from his fasting at the evening offering? As those to say, quote, all day until this moment my strength held up, and I felt no distress. But at the moment of the evening offering, my strength ebbed away from me, and my bowels were great with hunger. Hence, here at the early evening prayer, a man should confess his sin, cheto, his uckery, and beseech Ha'elohim, the true God, as is said even here, and make the lifting up of my hands be an evening sacrifice. May the lifting up of my hands, the evening offering, Masa'at Kapai, Minchat Areb. So here the fuller verse, Daniel chapter 9, verse 20, the fuller verse. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin, my uckery, and the uckery of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh Jehovah Elohai, Haliyai, for the holy mountain of Elohai, of Haliyai, of my power. We'od aniya me'edabera u'amita palela u'amita wadeh Chatatia we chatata ami Yisrael u'amapila te chinatia lifnei Yahweh Elohai al hara kodesh Elohai. Full of verse. Here. Next verse 21. Full of verse. Yea. Here. Yea. That's yea. There we go. 21. Verse 21. Yea, saith Daniel, yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man, Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. Here, the second part of the verse. We od ani midabera bata fila we haish Gabriel asher raitia be hazon bata chila mu'afa bi'afa no ge'a elaya ka'ait minachat areb. So we have here in the Midrash, the translation, whilst, according to KJV, whilst eyes was speaking and praying and confessing my sin. We'od ani amidaber u'amita palela u'amita wade u'amita vade. The Vidui, confession, stretching forth the hands. U'amita wade, chatati, my sins, my uckery. And here the verse goes forward to say, and the sin of my people Israel, and the sin of my people chata'at, with chata'at ami Yisrael, and presenting my supplication before Jehovah, my Elohim, my true God, my power. Umapil te chinati lifnei Yahweh Elohai, for the holy mountain of Elohai, of Haliyai. Al Har Kodesh, upon Har Kodesh, concerning about on Al Har Kodesh Elohai. Second verse, yea, while I was speaking in prayer, we're awed and continuing going on while I was speaking, while we're awed I, Midabir, ani midabir, wa'od ani midabir. And while I was speaking, batafila, in tefillah, in prayer, the man Gabriel, with Haish, and the Ish, with Haish, Gabriel, whom Asher I had seen, Raiti, the one who I had seen in the vision, Bechazon, in the Chazon, Bechazon, Batachila, at the beginning, being caused to fly, Mu'af, bi'af, and being caused to fly swiftly, approach close to me, Noge'ah, Elai, upon I, close to I, or KJV brings out the sense of touched me about the evening time. Here in the Hebrew, Noge'ah, to touch or to even approach close, Noge'ah Elai, K'ait, about like the time, K'ait, about the time, K'ait minchat areb, about the time of the minchat, of the offering, areb, the evening offering. And at what moment did Gabriel approach? At the moment of the evening offering, at the moment of the minchat areb, k'ait minchat areb. And here the Midrash note this offering, this minkat, this offering was made at the time, k'ait, at the time of the, some say, afternoon service. This offering, here, the minkat, is made and was made at the time of the afternoon service. The minchat areb, the minkat Erev.
They could never prosper. They could never, no way, but they don't pray. Chapter day, yeah. Right.
מזמור קמ"א, מזמור לדוד. אדוני קראתיך חושה לי, האזינה קולי בקוראי לך. תיכון תפילתי קטורת לפניך, משאת כפיים מנחת ערב. שיטה אדוני שמרה לפי, נצרה על דל שפתי. אל תת ליבי לדבר רע, להתעולל עלילות ברשע, את אישים פועלי אבן, ובל אלחם במנעמיהם. יהלמני צדיק חסד, ויוכיחני שמן ראש על יני ראשי, כי עוד ותפילתי ברעותיהם. נשמטו בידי סלע שופטיהם, ושמעו אמרי כי נעמו. כמו פולח ובוקע בארץ, נפזרו עצמנו לפי שאול. כי אליך אלוהים אדוני עיני, בך חסיתי אל תיער נפשי. שומרני מדי פח יקישו לי, ומוקשות פועלי אבן. יפלו במחמוריו רשעים, יחד אנוכי עד אעבור.
Psalm 141.
מזמור קמ"א מזמור לדוד. מזמור לדוד. מזמור לדוד. מזמור לדוד. מזמור לדוד.
Lord,
אדוני, 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 אדוני.
I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me. Make haste unto me.
אדוני קראתיך חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי, חושה לי.
Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Cry unto thee.
האזינה קולי בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך, בקוראי לך.
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, as incense, as incense, as incense.
תיכון תפילתי כתורת לפניך, 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 לפניך.
And the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice. Evening sacrifice.
משאת כפיים מן חטערן, 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 חטערן.
Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with men that work iniquity, and let me not eat of their dainties. Let the righteous smite me. It shall be a kindness. And let him reprove me. It shall be an excellent oil, which shall not break my head. For yet my prayer also shall be in their calamity. When their judges are overthrown in stony places, they shall hear my words, for they are sweet. Our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. But mine eyes are unto thee, O God the Lord. In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares which they have laid for me, and the gins of the workers of iniquity. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, whilst that I withal escape, 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 escape.
Birds that take quietly, foxes in their hole, man at the peaceful race, he have no way to lie there. He prays, yes, he prays. He prays, yes, he prays. He prays, yes, he prays. Yes, he prays. He prays, yes, he prays. For I and you, for I and you, he prays, yes, he prays, yes, he prays. Yes, yes, he prays. believe me that you pray. You got to hear what I say. Pray. Yes, we pray.
The Lord's Prayer in English, Ge'ez, and Amharic. After this manner, therefore pray ye. Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Ge'ez, Abune ዘበሰማያት ይትቀደስ ስምከ ትምጻእ መንግሥትከ ወይኩን ፈቃድከ በከመ በሰማይ ከማሁ በምድር ሲሳየነ ዘለለ ዕለተነ ሀበነ ዮም ህድግ ለነ አበሳነ ወጌጋየነ ከመ ንሕነኒ ንህድግ ለዚ አበሰ ለነ እታቢአነ እግዚኦ ውስተ መንሱት አላ አድኃነነ ወባልሃነ እምኩሉ እኩይ እስመ ዚአከ ይእቲ መንግሥት ኃይል ወስብሐት ለዓለም ዓለም አሜን። አምሃሪክ አባታችን ሆይ በሰማይ የምትኖር ስምህ ይቀደስ፣ መንግሥትህ ትምጣ፣ ፈቃድህ በሰማይ እንደሆነች እንዲሁም በምድር ትሁን። የዕለት እንጀራችንን ስጠን ዛሬ፣ በደላችንንም ይቅር በለን እኛም የበደሉንን ይቅር እንደምንል። አቤቱ ወደ ፈተና አታግባን፣ ከክፉ ሁሉ አድነን እንጂ መንግሥት ያንተ ናትና ኃይልም ክብር ምስጋና ለዘላለሙ አሜን።
የሰማይ አባታችን ሆይ በሰማይ የምትኖር ስምህ ይቀደስ፣ መንግሥትህ ትምጣ፣ ፈቃድህ በሰማይ እንደሆነች እንዲሁም በምድር ትሁን። የዕለት እንጀራችንን ስጠን ዛሬ፣ በደላችንንም ይቅር በለን እኛ የበደለንን ይቅር እንደምንል፣ አቤቱ ወደ ፈተናም አታግባን ከክፉ ሁሉ አድነን እንጂ መንግሥት ያንተ ናትና ኃይል፣ ምስጋና ለዘላለም።
Disappearance.
using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.